Hi guys, welcome to Cracku's YouTube channel. I hope you all are doing well. In this video, we will be discussing about Snap. We will basically be discussing what the attempt strategies should be and how we can score a good percentile. We'll discuss a little bit about the syllabus. We'll discuss how we are supposed to attempt the paper, like what should be our attempt strategy, what should be ideal attempts as such, and we'll also be discussing what to do and what not to do in the paper. Okay, so let's get started. So a little bit overview about the paper. Snap, as we know, is 60 questions, 60 minutes. It's a short paper. It's 60-minute paper. You get 60 questions. So essentially, it's 1 minute per question, which tells me that the questions are not going to be very difficult. Obviously, because if they are allotting you, say, around a minute to solve a particular question, they're obviously not expecting you to solve like a very difficult one. So in terms of difficulty, Snap is much easier if you compare to Cat or Zat for that matter. So in Snap, what happens is the game is not about how much you know, but more about like how accurate you are, how fast you are, because accuracy and speed are the single most two factors which basically can take your score to a very high percentile basis. Okay, and the marking scheme is point one says +1 for a correct answer, and if you get it wrong, you get 0.25 as a negative. The exam is conducted 3 times, and the best of the three is chosen. There is no normalization. Unlike CAT, there is no normalization, which tells me ki, unlike CAT, there is no normalization. So if you are attempting paper 1, you can, because the paper is conducted thrice, so you can choose paper 1, paper 2, paper 3, all three of them you can choose to appear. And the best score that you get in all of these three, that will be chosen as your final score. When we look into the sections, we can broadly divide it into three sections. We have general English, we have QADIDS, like quantitative aptitude, data interpretation, and data sufficiency, and we have analytical and logical reasoning. This has the most questions, followed by this and then this. One thing to know here is there are no sectional time limits. So because there is no sectional time limit, we can basically, and also there are no sectional cutoffs. So because we don't have any of that split, so the goal should be to do well, and like to boost, like whichever section is our strongest, we should be focusing on that the most, and try to push our score as high as possible. Now, talking about the marks versus percentile thing, so if you look into 25 was relatively easier if you compare to 24 or 23, where 99.5 was at around 51.5 marks. This is an expected score. Like for this year, this can be an expected score. So if you're someone who's aiming to score north of 98.5, because 98.5 is important, why? Because SIBM Pune, which is the best college through Snap, for them, the cutoff last year went around 98.5 for the interviews. So if you want to get into SIBM, 98.5 should be your target, which tells me that our target score should be somewhere around 46 to 50. If you want a 98.5 or a 99 percentile, this should be the score you should be aiming for. So now let's look into the attempt strategy. So because there are no sectional time limits, because there are no sectional cutoffs, you should always start with the section you are most confident in. This will do two things. One, it will save you some time, because if you are most confident in a particular section, you'll be able to solve it faster. So even like the minutes or the seconds that you save, that also add up to a lot in these kind of exams. And secondly, it will give you a confidence boost. You're like, okay, I'm able to solve a lot of questions. So in your mind, it'll be like, okay, I'll be able to do well in the exam. And that attitude is actually pretty important in exams. If you believe that you can do well, you can actually do well. So always you should start with the section that you're most confident in. Next is you should be solving in iterations. Iterations as in like you solve the first pass only the easy questions, then the moderates, and then you take the educated guess. You should not get stuck on a particular question. It's not necessary, right? It's because Snap gives a healthy mix. Okay, there will be questions which are easier, there will be questions which are doable, not very easy, but not difficult also. And there will be a few hard questions in quants or some. So there will be 2 or 3 hard questions. So what we need to do is we need to solve in iterations, whatever you call it. So basically, you scan through the paper, check out the questions which are very easy, which you know you can finish in like say under a minute or so. Attempt them first. Once you're done with them, then again go through that and go for like the medium kind of questions. Like, okay, this is not very difficult, I can solve it if I try. That should be the process. It should never be like, I'll do one, then I'll do two, then I'll do three. Because at the end of the day, what matters is the number of questions you get correct, not the order in which you get correct or which question you get correct. Question 5 might be very hard, but if you score it, if you get it correct, you will get a 1 only. And by the time you finished question 5, you could have maybe finished like question 23 and 24, which were easier. So that would have given you a +2 instead of a +1. So it's not a game of ego. Please keep that in mind always while appearing for these. It's not necessary that I need to solve the hard questions. The only thing that is necessary is I need to solve as many questions as possible. And how do we do that? We solve in iterations. We do like the easy questions first, just a quick scan through. And if you're someone who's well prepared, and if you're someone who's targeting say a 99 percentile, I would say you'll have a rough idea. Like these are the sections I'm good at. These are the questions. Looking at the question, you can say, okay, this will not take a lot of time as opposed to the other one. So those questions we solve first, then we go for the medium ones. And at the end, if we have time, we take a few educated guesses. Obviously, we don't want to guess anything random because there is a penalty, there is a minus 0.25 if we get it wrong. So we don't want to guess that way as well. An ideal time distribution should be 8 to 10 minutes in general English. English, they focus a lot on grammar. And grammar questions it's like either you know or you don't. Right? There is no like, room to think like, okay, it's not a solving kind of a thing. Like what happens in math is like, you'll have to solve something. So solving is not happening here in English. So you can easily, sail through this section if you are like prepared. 20 to 25 minutes should be given to ALR. Now, ALR is the logical reasoning portion, analytical and logical reasoning. Here we have a variety of topics. And this is the most big section as well. This has like 25 questions as opposed to 15 in English. This one has 25 questions. So we need to give some time here. One thing about ALR is there will be questions like say sequencing, or there can be something like input output, which sometimes we easily understand, we can comprehend, and like we can figure out the pattern. But many times it happens that in the exam setting, in the pressure scenario, you are unable to figure out. So we don't want to waste a lot of time in that. Again, the same argument, it is about how many questions you attempt, how many questions you get correct, not which questions you get correct. So ALR in an exam setting can actually be a little daunting. So we don't want to devote a lot of time there, but also because it's the largest section, we need to give some time. And 20 minutes around should be for QA DIDs. Now QA mein kya hota? What happens in QA is that if someone is preparing for CAT, you are solving much harder questions. So QA would be very easy for you. If you're someone who's not preparing for CAT and let's say just preparing for OMETs, in that case also, these are like in a typical book, you will find them to be like the LOD1, at most LOD2 kind of questions. So these do not really take a lot of time if you're someone who's preparing seriously for the exam. So 20 minutes around we should keep for QAD ideas, and the remaining we should be splitting to maximize the score, because at the end we want most scores. If you're someone who's like say good at general English, then devote it to general English and like probably try answering all of it. If you're someone who's doing well in QADI, then devote the remaining time to QADI. That should be an ideal split. An ideal attempt should be around 50 to 55 questions. Out of the 60, you should be attempting around 50 to 55. If you are someone who is aiming for a 99 percentile plus. Because the accuracy needs to be great. Even if the accuracy is not very great, we need, like, when I say not very great, I mean like somewhere around say like 80% or like 75% accuracy. and great accuracy would be like, a 90% accuracy ka thing. So that is the idea. We need to attempt more questions, but also just attempting the questions, like, without actually having a decent accuracy, that can backfire like tremendously. So let's not do that. Instead, let's try to build the accuracy, because we still have time, right? So let's try to build the accuracy, and let's try to increase the speed as well. So the key takeaway from here is we need to build the accuracy and also the speed, because these are the single two factors which are needed to score well in Snap. Next, let's look into the subjects or like the sections individually. What the syllabus is, a little bit idea about like what the syllabus is, and then we'll look into what are the areas we need to focus on to maximize our output from the preparation. Yeah. So talking about general English, we know there's 15 questions. Reading comprehensions are there, but reading comprehension questions don't really come. Like if you look into the last 2 or 3 snaps, you'll see RC questions were not there as much. So although they put it in the official syllabus as such, but questions don't really come. So, and also if even if the questions came, it will not be something like CAT key, like high level inference or something. So it will be an easy passage, right? So RC is not that big of a focus area, but it's there in the syllabus. That is. Next, we have verbal reasoning. Verbal reasoning has assumptions, inferences, strength and weaken, course of action, statement, conclusion, cause and effect. So this is basically the critical reasoning portion, CR portion. So, and this is important. This is important both for the general English portion and also for the analytical reasoning, because these critical reasoning questions, they come in both of these sections. Assumptions, inferences, they can have something like small passage is given, and then they can ask you like what is the assumption that it depends on, what if this is an implicit assumption, like if it's a necessary assumption or not. Then they can ask something like what is the proper course of action, like they explain something and then what should be the next step that can be taken from there, or from the passage what can be logically concluded from it, all those kind of questions. So these are important when we consider Snap. Next, we have the verbal ability section. This is primarily a vocab and grammar. This is an important section. This is very important in the sense that these questions, don't really take a lot of time. They can be, like a vocab question, you either know it or you don't know it, right? So these don't take a lot of time, and these are the money makers. These you can get like, high scores from here if you have a structured prep. So what are here? We have the synonyms, antonyms, fill in the blanks. Fill in the blanks is like one sentence is given, 2 or 3 words are taken out. You need to figure out what is the proper word to fit that blank. Phrases and idioms, identifying parts of speech. Parts of speech and figures of speech are important. Parts of speech is like a sentence is given. We need to figure out what is the function of this particular word, something like that. And parajumbles not so important, but grammar and sentence, that is important. So when we look into the general strategy, these should be the focus areas. We should be focusing on vocabulary. Now, focusing on vocabulary does not mean ki like, take up a book and read something like Word Power Made Easy or something, because inorganically growing the vocabulary can be a bit challenging, and also you don't really know if it's going to be rewarding enough. So what we can do here is we read a lot. That helps with the comprehension skills, definitely. That also helps with like, the general awareness of things, right? For the interviews and all, also that might help. And organically we need to develop our vocabulary. Next, we have grammar. Grammar is something people ask like, okay, the last time we did grammar was like, this years ago, so what do we do? So see, grammar ka, the thing is, there's like a set area, like these are the only things that they are going to be asking. It's not going to be something very difficult, like they're not going to ask you what a participle phrase is, or like, how do you do this or that, like, very typical grammatical questions. They are like more of general things. They'll ask something like, say, what subject verb agreement, questions on subject verb agreement, some questions on basic tenses, some questions on say preposition, errors on prepositions, like he is good at math, or is it he is good with math, those kind of errors. So like general stuff, it's not going to be something which is very much out of the blue. So grammar there. Fill in the blanks is like the same as vocab only. Vocabulary also helps with the antonym synonym area, because in antonyms and synonyms we have those, right? Like if this, what is the closest in meaning to this word. So if you don't really know what the actual word is, so tabhi to you will not be able to figure out. So one thing that helps with the vocabulary area is if you know what word roots are. Let's say if there is a word, say monogamy. Monogamy is like, someone who's like just married to one person, who's like, just with the one person, right? So if you know what mono is, then you'll be able to figure this out. Like mono means like one, and if you know what gamy means like to be with someone. So if you know what gamy means, then you can also say what polygamy means, right? Because gamy means to be with someone, and poly means like more than. So polygamy is someone who's like with a lot of people. So these are called word roots. These actually help with the vocab section of things, because it's obviously not possible to learn like thousands and thousands of words. What we can do is like learn some word roots that help us with the vocab section. Next we have sentence corrections. Sentence corrections again falls in the grammar part of things only. Like they'll give you a sentence, you need to figure out like what is wrong with the sentence. Now this and grammar, these actually work together, because both of them similar kind of idea. You have to know the rules, basic rules, again, like not something very much very different, or like something which is very niche, that doesn't come as much. Basic rules we need to know, and reasoning as in the critical reasoning side of things. Critical reasoning we have to learn properly. That has to be a focus area. That is a focus area for ALR section as well. What can be the tips here? Tips should be building vocabulary daily. Building vocabulary daily, read daily. Like read 2-3 articles, from the articles, like from the context you'll get a word, and that way you remember also. Like there can be, if you're just learning the word from a book, without, it's not in a sentence, like say from a dictionary or something, or if you're learning a word, there's a chance you will not remember what it means. But if you read it in a sentence, and like ideate, like okay, this is what the sentence is implying. So from there it's easier to recall okay, this word probably means something like that. So we should build vocabulary and daily, like read daily. Grammar questions are quick marks. Grammar questions, you either know them or you don't know them, so you don't get stuck. Basic idea of like the basic everyday day-to-day grammar should be there, and elimination works extremely well, especially in questions like say fill in the blanks or vocab also for to some extent. Like if there is a sentence given to us, from the sentence we'll be able to figure out okay, this is basically something what the sentence means. Now if I know this is something the sentence means, so from there I can get some idea these words cannot be here, because if this word is here, then the sentence makes no sense. So that way we can eliminate. So elimination works beautifully. Elimination is something we need to practice when we are doing the general English. Next, we have the analytical and logical reasoning. This is like the biggest section. We have 25 questions from here. The syllabus is like, you have the puzzle, sitting arrangements, blood relations, direction, sequence as a series, alphabet based, number based, coding, decoding, syllogisms, analogies. Syllogisms are something like, all A's are B's. If A is B, then those kind of things. Input output based problems, like an input is given and then like 2 or 3 intermediate steps are given, and then they ask you okay, what will be the next step. Venn diagrams, analogies again, it is like something, if brick is house, like if brick is used to build a house, right, you get the relation. So what will be the similar relation to something else. Clocks and calendars, these are actually quite favorite with them. Last year I think across the slots there were like 3 or 4 questions from clocks and calendars. Clocks and calendars questions are like what is the, if the time is 7:25, then what is the angle between the hour hand and the minute hand, or something like, a clock gains 1 minute for every hour. So like the, what will be the time after a certain point, those kind of questions from clocks. And calendars questions are like, if 25th January 1995 is this, then what will be the, if 25th January 1995 is the Friday, then what will be 19th December 2027, something like that. Those kind of questions are from clocks and calendars. And cube based puzzles, cubes are like, a cube is given, it's like painted, you cut it out, and then like how many cubes, how many of the smaller cubes are like colored in both sides, or like colored in all the three sides, those kind of questions. For a detailed syllabus overview, you can check out the other video that we have in our channel, where we've discussed thoroughly what these syllabus things are, and like, what kind of questions you can particularly expect from these. Now talking about the strategy, the number of questions, okay, it's 25. These are the areas we need to focus on. Now this list is basically compiled from analyzing like past 3 or 4 years of questions, where we have seen that most of the questions center around these topics. So that is why these are the focus areas. We have questions on series. They can be numerical series, like say 2, 5, 9, 14. That is a series given to us. Then what will be the next term, or what will be the next 2 terms? Those kind of questions. We have coding, decoding. Coding, decoding, as we discussed. We have blood relations, like Ram said, he is the mother of my brother's second cousin, blah blah blah. Those kind of things. Directions like, he started walking, he was facing north, he walked 30 kilometers, and then like he took a right turn, and then he took a left turn, and then he again took a left turn, then which direction is he facing currently? Those kind of questions. Syllogisms we discussed, all A's are B's, if some B's are C, then all A's are C's, and all those kind of questions. Arrangements, they are not the same as the ones you get in CAT. I mean, CAT arrangement sets are pretty big. These are one question sets. They'll be this big, let's say. Like 2 or 3 conditions are given. They're usually linear arrangements. Sometimes they can give circular arrangements as well, but mostly they're linear arrangements. And critical reasoning. Critical reasoning questions occur in this section as well. So critical reasoning is something which is, across these 2 sections, we need to prepare for critical reasoning accordingly. This is an important topic as far as SNAP is concerned, because 7-8 questions from critical reasoning usually come in any slot you pick. Right? It can be the first, second, or third slot. 7-8 questions you can easily expect from critical reasoning. Now, what we need to do here is we need to make LR our strongest section. When I say it, I mean I need to be confident. It's not like in numbers I'm making it strongest. I need to be very confident, because in case of logical reasoning, confidence is something that plays a big role. Like if you're confident that I will be able to solve it, that optimism in your mind actually motivates you to solve better. If you're pessimistic, you okay, I'm not very good with LR, I'm not very good with LR, that pessimism is going to cost you marks. That pessimism is kind of will not let you think properly, and you will lose on marks. So we don't want that. We will practice LR, and we'll make sure that we are well versed with at least these topics, if not the whole of the list. We'll make sure that we are well versed with LRK topics, so that we are confident in this section. We need to avoid time traps. Like at the beginning of the video, we were discussing how some questions can be as such, right? The pattern is not something which we are very easily getting. So let's leave it. We'll solve it in the next iteration. If the pattern I can directly see, or like, with a little bit of thought I can see, I'll solve it. Otherwise, we'll do in the next iteration. Speed matters more than difficulty. Yeah, that is a universal thing for the whole of SNAP. Speed matters more than difficulty. It's not a challenge like how many difficult questions you were able to do. It's just how many questions you were able to. And finally, PYQs and mocks are good. Like PYQs, obviously they give you an idea, like what kind of questions you are supposed to expect. And mocks are also very important, because they train you for it. And because if you give more mocks, and high quality mocks at that. If you give high quality mocks, you make sure that you are prepared for the exam. You make sure that you are covering all the different, because good mocks, they do what, they'll put some questions from this topic, some questions from the other topic. It's a very healthy mix, so that all the bases are covered. And that is why mocks are the gold mine, and we should be giving more mocks. In that context, if you are a serious snap aspirant, I would like to tell you guys about our Cracku mocks, because in Cracku, like I said before, we try to make sure that all the bases are covered. We make sure that the questions are very relevant. The questions are something which you can actually expect in the actual snap exam. The questions are tailored to the previous year papers. We make sure that the formatting and the style in which the questions are asked are very relevant to the actual snap. So if you're someone who's serious about snap, do check out our mock series. The link will be there in the description. Okay guys, moving on, we talk about the third section, which is QADIDS. In this section, the syllabus is pretty boilerplate. Like, the syllabus is any competitive exam, any aptitude test, the kind of syllabus you will be seeing. We have arithmetic, which is the biggest section. I mean, last across papers, around 8 questions, 6 to 8 questions come from arithmetic. So this actually becomes the important section. We have time, speed and distance, time and work, percentages, profit and loss, ratio, proportion, SICI, mixtures and allocations. You know the basic stuff. Algebra, I think you can expect 2 to 3 questions from here. So algebra has linear and quadratic equations, inequalities. Some people also club progressions with algebra. But yeah, like, if you want, then so it's fine. Otherwise, progressions usually come under modern math, but whatever. We have number system. Number systems also saying like 1 to 2 questions. They are like divisibility, what will be the remainder, if this will be divided by this, what will be the digits and all. These can be a little hard. Number system is actually a bit harder. Arithmetic is relatively much simpler if you compare with number systems, and arithmetic has more questions also, which tells me arithmetic is the more rewarding section. So when I'm preparing for snap, arithmetic should be the section that I focus on. Like, that should be the first priority section that I do. Next, we have geometry. Geometry, lines, angles, triangles, circles, and mensuration. Mensuration is like area and volume problems. Coordinate geometry is not there in snap, so that is a good thing. And then we get to modern math. Modern math, again, across sections we have had like 6 to 8 questions. So this is also an important part here, we can say. Modern math will have something like PNC, probability set theory, progressions. There'll also be like logarithms, for that matter. And logarithms is one of those topics you'll get like 1 question. Like, for sure, like, every snap has like 1 question from logarithms. So yeah, modern math is also something we should be focusing on. And then finally we have DI. These are rare, but again important. Why they're important is because we need to know how do we read these charts. Because we need to know how we read these charts and stuff. There's like pie charts, bar graphs and all that. We need to know how we can read them, and how we use the values, convert it into a table, and then you solve it, right? So reading the charts is very important. Considering the focus areas, obviously arithmetic tops the list. Arithmetic should be the #1 focus when you're focusing for QADI. Then we have algebra followed by modern math. Algebra, why? Because some people actually classify progressions and logarithm into algebra. Some classify it into modern math. In either way, progressions and logarithms become an important topic. So these should be practiced as well. Number systems is hard, but yeah, like in the priority list we have. Another thing that we need to focus on is data sufficiency. Not because data sufficiency is a different mathematical concept. Data sufficiency basically uses all these concepts only. Data sufficiency as a question type we need to be comfortable with. What these data sufficiency questions ask us is like, they will give us a problem and then they'll give us 2 statements. And we need to figure out if we can solve the problem using one of these 2 statements. So it can be like, statement 1 alone is sufficient, or statement 2 alone is sufficient, or both the statements together are required to solve this particular math problem, or even after using both these statements I am unable to solve. So these are the data sufficiency question. Data sufficiency as a question type becomes important because we do see data sufficiency kind of questions, and they are not very difficult. They look very difficult, but they are not very difficult to solve. So if you're someone who's preparing, I would want you to be like well versed with this kind of questions as such. For the tips, we should be prioritizing arithmetic. That is एकदम important because arithmetic the most questions are coming, and arithmetic is not very taxing also. Taxing in the sense कि you don't need to put a lot of effort to understand. Like interest में what else is there to understand, right? So it's not very difficult to understand, but it is rewarding in terms of the number of questions and everything. Skip the lengthy calculations because Snap does not have a calculator. So getting stuck on like big multiplications or something, don't do it. It's not that worth it. Instead of the time that you're spending on solving that multiplication, if you're able to solve one more question, that is going to be better. So skip lengthy calculations. If needed, keep them till the last. DI is usually nahi, DI is definitely easier than CAT. All you need to know is a few charts, and that too, like you should know how to read them, and that too common charts like pie charts, line charts, those kind of charts. Not something fancy like the sunburst chart or something. Those don't come in Snap. And solving in iterations. This solving in iterations becomes very important for quants. Because in quants, what happens is it's very easy to get stuck. You're like, okay, I'll be able to solve this question, but the thing is, it will be lengthy. So if it is something that you're able to solve, but it is going to be lengthy, leave it for the second iteration. If it is only something which you can just solve like and like move on, only in that case, keep it. So solving in iterations actually becomes very important for quants and among the other things also. Uh, so this was it. This was a basic overview of like how you should be preparing for Snap if you are someone who's targeting a good percentile. If you would like a more structured preparation, like a more structured strategies and like how you should be preparing, what topics should be prepared first, second, and also the mocks and everything, do check out our Cracku courses. We have two dedicated courses, one for Snap and one for NMAT plus Snap. So you can check that out. That has live classes, that has recorded lectures, that has all the mock tests and like question banks for you to practice as many questions as you want. The link will be there in the description. So that is it for this video, guys. I hope you learned something today. So that is it for this video, guys. I hope to see you guys in the next one.